Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Faith, and today guys I'll be checking out Candace Owens as she speaks on Neo and Jamie Foxx saga, and she says Neo was right and Jamie Foxx wasn't wrong. And you guys, I'm super excited as always. If you're here to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing. Give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what Candace has for us in this video.
Happy Monday, everybody. So if you're an avid listener of the show, you pretty much know that I hate everybody, especially when I'm this pregnant. My tolerance level goes way lower. And so part of the reason that I can't stand Hollywood is because there's no real people there. It's fake friends, it's fake apologies. Even if they say something meaningful, they take it back because they have no real freedom. And that brings us to Neo and Jamie Foxx, both in hot water, and nobody actually knows why. Because we live in a society where everybody is fake oppressed and demanding fake apologies for their fake oppression. So let's talk about that. Plus, if you and your spouse have a quote unquote open relationship, should you be upset if they start sleeping with trans people? Yeah, that's what one Redditor would like to know. Uh-oh. All that and more today coming up on Candace Owens. So unfortunately, right now, we live in a society where men are weak. It's why I often talk about masculinity on the show. I'm trying to see what examples men are even following. And I think we all realize now we are facing a crisis. We are facing a crisis of manhood. Not only are men not acting like men in terms of leading their homes responsibly, starting families, making sure that they raise up their children to be strong individuals, but men don't even stand by their words nowadays, right? I remember growing up, my grandfather used to tell me that they could just do deals on a handshake. Well, I'll do this, you'll do that. Shake hands, walk away. And no, just look the man in the eye and know that he meant what he said. You could never do that now. You need contracts, you need lawyers, you need 50,000 pages. And still, if after you've signed a 50,000-page lawsuit, it's likely that he might do something to screw you over, him or her, right? Because nobody means what they say anymore. And that's upsetting. When we take a look at Hollywood, that example becomes absolutely magnified, right? Because in order to maintain their popularity, they have to pretend to take stances that they don't actually take behind the scenes. And so once in a while, somebody bleeds through the crack and they say something that they actually mean, or they say something that's not offensive at all, and then a peer pressure campaign builds because Hollywood is controlled. They are controlled because they are used as a propaganda arm, typically of the government. And they must immediately revoke whatever they said and issue an immediate apology. And that brings me at first to Neo. Neo is an R&B singer. I like a lot of his music, actually. I've listened to tons of his songs. And he said something that made so much sense on a podcast the other day that he, of course, had to apologize. What did Neo say? Take a listen.
Parents have almost forgotten what the role of a parent is.
Amen.
It's like, okay,
lost control.
If your little boy comes to you and says, "Daddy, I want to be a girl," and you just let him rock with that,
Right.
He's 5.
Right. And where did he get that
if
from?
you let this 5-year-old boy decide to eat candy all day, he's going to do that.
Exactly.
Like, when did it become a good idea to let a 5-year-old, let a 6-year-old, let a 12-year-old make a life-changing decision for themselves?
Right.
When did that happen?
Right.
Like, I don't understand that.
So he sounds passionate and he sounds sensible. And he's asking a question that we've all asked ourselves. Could you imagine just giving children the authority to do whatever they wanted? What would your house look like? I have a 2-year-old. He would certainly be eating muffins all day. He's obsessed with muffins. He would virtually never eat a vegetable if it were up to him. And what he is saying is good for other men to hear because it lets them know that they're not crazy. That yes, the responsibility of parents is to lead a household, not to listen to your children and follow their lead. Right? But we live in a different age now where we think that parents are meant to be sensitive to every single feeling that a child has and to allow them to guide how a household is being run. So, of course, this ended up being extracted from the conversation and it went viral online and people were discussing it. Many people positively saying, thankfully, somebody said it. Me, I'll be honest, I was happy to hear a black man say it in particular because I have noticed the weakening of black men. Yes, it's all men, but particularly of black men has upset me because obviously I identify and I think of my grandfather, who was the strongest example of a man that I know. He was a black man. And he just would have never allowed this foolishness to take place. And so I've been looking for examples in Hollywood of black men in particular that will stand up and say, I don't like the way we are being imaged out into society. And finally, at long last, Neil said something that made sense. Well, that was before he had to, of course, issue an apology, because all of the parents who allow their children to make whatever decisions they want demanded it, because Hollywood has now decided on the trans agenda. The government has decided on the trans agenda. And so they expect this black man to buckle. And he did. Here's what he wrote on his Instagram. He wrote, after much reflection, I'd like to express my deepest apologies to anyone that I may have hurt with my comments on parenting and gender identity. I've always been an advocate for love and inclusivity in the LGBTQI plus community, so I understand how my comments could have been interpreted as insensitive and offensive. Gender identity is nuanced, and I can honestly admit that I plan to better educate myself on the topic so I can approach future conversations with more empathy. At the end of the day, I lead with love and support everyone's freedom of expression and pursuit of happiness. I wonder which PR agency wrote that. Feels copy and pasted. I feel like everyone's always said, I'm going to better educate myself. I'm going to re-education camp. I need to educate myself about the plight of the transgendered individuals in society. And once I come out of re-education camp, I will, of course, realize that everything that they're saying makes sense. And of course, children should be guiding their households. And if my child says that they are a fish, then by golly, I should allow them to stay in the bathtub all day. You should just trust the process. It's foolishness, it's ridiculous, and it's weak. He should have never apologized, and he's not the only one. Jamie Foxx came under a lot of fire as well because he said this on his Instagram story before he quickly deleted it. Jamie Foxx wrote, they killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you? Hashtag fake friends, hashtag fake love. Now, I was astonished by what happened thereafter because I've heard this expression so many times. And of course, Black Twitter and the Black internet, as they're calling it, rose to his defense because similarly, it's a very common Black colloquialism. You say, oh, they killed Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you? This is obviously, he used the hashtag fake friends. It was a reference to fake friends. I would argue that Judas might have been a fake friend. Oh, but he used the word they. And guess who now owns that word? You thought I was going to say transgender people. Well, they think they own it too, but no. Non-binary people, yeah, they also own it too. Nope, but now Jewish people own the word they. Shockingly, headlines came out and people accused him of being horrifically anti-Semitic. Look at this. Actor Jamie Foxx posts horrifically anti-Semitic message to his 16.7 million followers. Horrifically anti-Semitic post? What are we even talking about? The word they means more than one person. I know the story of Jesus Christ. I do believe that more than one person killed Jesus Christ. So are we no longer allowed to say that? When did the ADL purchase that word? It's an absurdity. On top of this scandal, Jennifer Aniston, whether she accidentally liked it or if somebody that was posing as Jennifer Aniston liked this post, they saw that there was a Jennifer Aniston that liked this post and they came to eat her too, because how dare you? This must mean Jennifer Aniston is anti-Semitic. Nope. And Jennifer Aniston immediately then offered an apology for something she never did, because God forbid she now be tagged as anti-Semitic for the original thing that wasn't even anti-Semitic. Jennifer Aniston wrote this. This really makes me sick. I did not like this post on purpose or by accident. And more importantly, I want to be clear to my friends and anyone hurt by this showing up in their feeds that I do not support any form of anti-Semitism. And I truly don't tolerate hate of any kind, period. Oh, I'm so glad you included the period. Now it really clears things up. Jamie Foxx obviously immediately folded to pressure, and he then published this. I want to apologize to the Jewish community and everyone who was offended by my post. I now know my choice of words have caused offense, and I'm sorry. Oh, looks like he went to re-education camp. You got to be careful when you use the word they. He goes on, that was never my intent. To clarify, I was betrayed by a fake friend, and that's what I meant with they, not anything more. I only have love in my heart for everyone. I love and support my Jewish community. My deepest apologies to anyone who was offended. Nothing but love always, Jamie Foxx. So he had to clarify what was already clear in the post because he used the hashtag fake friends. And he used a reference to Jesus Christ, who was killed by they, a group of people because a fake friend sold him out. But yes, Jamie Foxx had to actually apologize. And lucky for Jamie Foxx, Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL was willing to accept the apology so that, he wasn't going to get further canceled. He speaks on behalf of all Jews because he uses the word we. And he wrote this on Twitter. He wrote, "We welcome I Am Jamie Foxx's apology and thank him for his clarification. Furthermore, we wish him well as he recovers from his prior hospitalization." He then doubled down and said, "I truly appreciate Jamie Foxx reaching out and confirming privately what he also said publicly. His message of love for the Jewish community is crucial in this time of rising hate. We are stronger together." Oh, so that's what happened. Jamie Foxx apologized for absolutely nothing. And fortunately, Jonathan Greenblatt allowed him to said, "You can keep your career." Oh, Jonathan Greenblatt, by the way, he's the guy that sent Kyrie Irving. Remember, he sent the link of a documentary to watch that was freely available for people to watch on Amazon. He's the one that gave him the list of things he would have to do to be welcomed back into the NBA, which I don't think Kyrie Irving ever did it. But it's that guy. Basically, if you still like your career, I will tell you whether or not we accept your apology for the nothing that you did. It's disgusting, it's despicable, and Jamie Foxx should not have apologized because it's not what he meant when he said it. Men, stop apologizing for it. Your words are meaningless if you don't actually mean it. You didn't do the thing, so how could you mean the apology? Neo, you obviously meant the thing that you said. So you should have stood up strong like a real man, and you should have said, "I said what I said and I meant it." And guess what? They would have moved on because they always move on. By the way, am I in trouble for saying they? Because I'm just mean the mainstream media. God forbid. Who owns that word now again? Is it trans community? Is it the Jewish community? Is it the black community? Am I allowed to say they at all anymore? Everybody is a coward, and it sickens me, okay? People do not have the guts anymore. People cannot stand by the things that they believe. They cannot even say the things they believe because we live in a climate of hypocrisy, in a climate of lies, and ultimately in a climate of cowardice. And let me tell you, I will be making no apologies for this monologue. So tweet me all that you want. And that's all that I have to say about that. So you're not going to believe this post on Reddit, or you will believe this post on Reddit. I definitely believe it, common sense, but it is a funny one, and I wanted to share it with you guys today. A woman posted some time ago, "I asked my husband to open our relationship. He's been sleeping with transsexuals ever since, and I don't know how to feel." The post reads further, "Please, I am not transphobic. I just don't know how to feel about this. Please read before downvoting." That's obligatory, of course. If you were going to mention transsexuals, you just got to instantly say, I'm sorry. She writes, I'm 45, husband, who is 49, and I opened up our relationship a few months ago. Admittedly, he was opposed to it initially, but I managed to convince him of the benefits and how it would allow us to explore our sexual fantasies safely. I wanted him to experience more women because he lost his virginity to me and has been faithful ever since then. At least I believe so. But it leads to a very strange situation. We've been married since college, over 20 years, and in that time, my husband has always been a very reserved person. He knows how to please me, but he was never a kinky person. He's romantic, and we have had a healthy sex life, but he's never even shown an inkling of a kinky side. So when we opened our relationship, I was expecting, or perhaps hoping, he would try and find his kinky side with other women. I thought that maybe he was too afraid to open up to me. Turns out this is not the case, because literally, less than a week of our relationship being open, he slept with this young trans girl, early 20s, I think, without even attempting to hide it. He just acted normal and said it was something different. This was just the start. Every single week without fail, hell, normally 7 times a week, he has brought a young trans girl to our house to sleep with them. No women at all. He just keeps sleeping with young trans girls who always look like they are only just above the legal age in our bedroom. The thing is, I've never considered myself bigoted against people for their sexuality, but this has me so confused about how to feel. He never showed any signs of attraction to trans girls, especially considering he's always been very conservative and reserved. I want to yell at him and say, stop. Why aren't you attracted to women like me? But I know that would be so hypocritical of me. I've been so upset by this. I haven't even slept with anyone other than my husband since we opened our relationship. I keep maintaining this facade about how great it is, and then I find myself crying when he's gone. I start thinking that if he's not attracted to other women, then he's probably not even attracted to me. Our children are also unsure how to feel about the entire ordeal, and I don't know what to tell him. Please, right now I need advice. I know I shouldn't be so judgmental, but I'm so confused. So please don't hate me. Whew, wow. Well, I mean, off the bat, I just can't believe how she has to keep begging people not to hate her for posting anonymously because she knows that the LGBTQ community is just going to yell at her and tell her that she is transphobic and not actually offer any advice. I don't know what to say here. First and foremost, I am so unbelievably grossed out and confused by the fact that you're saying that your children are aware of this dynamic between you and your husband. I'm grossed out and weirded by the fact that you keep saying that these girls, these trans girls, look like they are just above a legal age limit and you're allowing this to take place in your home, because the truth is anybody can lie about their age. So who knows what you're allowing to take place in your home. And I'm grossed out and confused by the fact that people believe that they need to open up their marriage in order to fulfill desires within themselves. I think it's you got exactly what you deserved. Set aside the fact that I think your husband's probably gay. I think that's probably pretty obvious. And it's probably why when you met him, he didn't sleep with anybody. You think maybe because he was saving himself for you, he probably had some questions in his head. And the second that you said that you don't have to be committed to me anymore, the first thing he did was he dove into what felt like a comfortable next step, which was sleeping with trans individuals under your roof. I can't think of anything more disgusting and more disrespectful. So what's going to happen, if you are not aware of this, and if people in the comments didn't tell you this, is that you and your husband are probably going to get a divorce, not because I'm recommending it, but because it's inevitable. Your husband is going to grow more and more attracted. You've allowed him to dive into sexual fetish. When you tell somebody that they don't have to be responsible and they can give in to lust and they find another biological male to do that with, I talk about this in the show often, you're setting yourself up for something basically that you're not going to be able to compete with, which is everyday sexual fantasy being explored. Do I feel sad for you? Yeah, I feel sad for you because you weren't principled enough to recognize that there's no such thing as opening up a marriage. Once you open up a marriage, you have no marriage. To be married means to be in a closed, dedicated relationship, a closed, dedicated, monogamous relationship with one other person. Any person telling you otherwise is in a fictitious marriage, right? That's not what a marriage is actually about. They just want the title and don't want to do the actual work. But I bid you and your gay husband luck. Moving on, you guys, I have to bring you this news because I was shocked by this. I was more shocked than my husband knew about this and didn't even tell me about this, didn't show me a video. But apparently this has been a viral sensation all across the world. And it's called Power Slap, which is a new extreme sport. I don't know if you would call it a sport, but I think it is considered a new extreme sport. It has now been purchased by Dana White, who runs the UFC, and it features competitors from all across the globe that battle on the ultimate stage to showcase their power, technique, and resolve, slapping another person. Take a look.
Oh, down goes the tank!
It's over. It's over. Do not get up. It's over. He's out.
Okay, so how it works, if you're wondering, because I certainly was like, this could not be a real thing. It's a real thing, and how it works, it's not only just a real thing, it's huge. It's bigger than every other sport in terms of viewership in the world combined. Okay, I'm talking about UFC, MLB, NBA. If you combine all of these, you do not get the amount of views that Power Slap is getting on the internet, particularly on TikTok, where it is ranked 8th for the most views in the world. So apparently this took off in the East. It is now being brought to the West. And if you want to know how it works, it's two men. They sit there, they flip a coin as to whoever gets to go first. Then whoever wins the coin toss slaps the other individual. If they fall, which you hope they don't fall, but if they do fall, they have a certain allotted amount of time to get back up before they can slap them back. And they go rounds as if it's boxing or wrestling. I mean, this is a real sport, and I feel that I would like to hear everybody's opinions about it. I know the first thing you're going to say, which is what Michael Knowles said when he saw this, because we were just like, this is a real sport. He said they're going to get brain damage. And the truth is that they get brain damage in all of these sports. So this is no different. But I wanted you guys to know that this is about to be everywhere. So you heard it here first. Well, not really, because some of you guys probably saw these videos on the internet already. My husband had already seen them. All right, guys, wanted to provide you an update on Lizzo because it seems that the media is really turning on her. She's having what pretty much happens in the Me Too movement, where one person says something and then 20 other people step outside of amnesia and they're like, oh my God, me too. I was treated poorly by this person. And so now she's got people that she's worked with saying she wasn't that nice. That obviously has nothing to do with what she's being sued for. And it really does seem to me to be a pylon. Again, I am not a fan of Lizzo. I think that her fat acceptance movement has been toxic, but I'm also not a big believer that the karma of her saying be fat and be naked is that she should be wrongly accused of sexual harassment by dancers that are just upset because they got fired. Now her dancers are making the round of the mainstream media. This one particular dancer sat down with CBS. Let's hear what Ariana Davis has to say.
Things that, the other cast members could do and, get away with, essentially, the dancers were not allowed to engage in any of that activity. In terms of like the false allegations that they had brought forth to us when we were on tour about us drinking before shows and things like that. That was never the case. In fact, alcohol was never even allowed in our dressing room or on our rider, which is the food and drinks provided to us. So it was like literally impossible for us to even do that. But yet we were the ones who were blamed for drinking on the job. It was stated to us by, Lizzo that she was like, it doesn't matter if I'm doing it. It doesn't matter if the band or anyone else is doing it. It's like, you guys can't do it.
So what she's just done is given us insight into what actually went down behind the scenes. And what actually went down behind the scenes is that obviously these dancers were reprimanded for drinking on the job. She starts out by saying, I just think that the rules here were more stringent. No, actually, those are pretty much the rules everywhere, but you can't drink on the job. Even if you're a dancer, even if the person that you're dancing for, and it sounds like Lizzo did, drank on the job. She wanted to be a cool boss. She wanted to drink with her employees. She wanted to take them to nightclubs in the sex district in Amsterdam, and now she's paying for all of that. And then when she wanted them to sober up and just to dance, they didn't want to do that. And so she told them not to drink. Management told them not to drink, and now they're suing her by claiming that actually we face sexual harassment and we were called names, and also white management, as they've listed, which is absurd in the suit, because they're going to hit every buzzword. They're going to make it racial. They're going to make it about them being fat, and they're going to make it about whatever it takes so that they can get a check, because they've learned that. This is what we've learned in the age of social justice. We have learned that all you have to do, as we've talked about this entire show, is decide what kind of a victim you are. Are you a victim because you're black? Are you a victim because you're a woman? Are you a victim because you're Jewish? Great. Put it in the lawsuit, and then everyone will have to not examine the facts, not examine what was actually said, not examine what was actually done, but immediately have an emotional response. It's utterly foolish. Lizzo did, in fact, enter in a comment on her Instagram. She responded rather on her Instagram, and here's what she said. She wrote, "These last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually, I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous to not be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. As an artist, I have always been very passionate about what I do. I take my music and my performances seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. With passion comes hard work and high standards. Sometimes I have to make hard decisions, but it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they aren't valued as an important part of the team. I am not here to be looked at as a victim, but I also know that I am not the villain that people and the media have portrayed me to be these last few days. I'm very open with my sexuality and expressing myself, but I cannot accept or allow people to use that openness to make me out to be something I am not. There is nothing I take more seriously than the respect that we deserve as women in the world. I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis and would absolutely never criticize or terminate an employee because of their weight. I'm hurt, but I will not let the good work I've done in the world be overshadowed by this. I want to thank everyone who has reached out in support to lift me up during this difficult time. I am going to end this by just saying I believe Lizzo. That version of events sounds correct. You live in a world now where young people that are coming up are hyper privileged. They believe that they deserve the world for a minimal amount of work. Why can't I drink on the job? This is supposed to be a fun job. You're Lizzo. Your brand is fun. And then when they get fired, they're bratty. They want to sue you. They want to see if they can get a check. And typically, management folds. And I think that in this circumstance, these girls are going to get some sort of a check. She legally fired them. She probably rightfully fired them. And yet still, because they have to kowtow to this bizarre liberal world that we're living in, or I should call it an anti-liberal world that we're living in, they're probably going to end up winning in the end. But I hope that people realize what's happening here, which is simply a financial shakedown from a bitter former employees. That's my take on it, at least. All right, guys, now it's time to read some of your comments on episodes past. So over the weekend, we dropped an hour episode where I actually explored all of the allegations against Andrew Tate, the indictment that he's facing, particularly Andrew Tate, by the way. I want to make it clear there are 7 victims listed in the indictment, but for Andrew Tate, there are only 4 victims. So on the show, I was unpacking just the 4 victims for Andrew Tate. Tamara9867 writes, my son at 11 was a victim of a 16-year-old girl and her boyfriend of a false rape allegation. It almost ruined my son. As a woman that was in a domestic violence relationship, I fully feel that if a woman is making false accusations, she should get the same sentence as a man accused of the same type of assault. That would be a perfect world. I agree with you so much. If you false accuse someone and it is proven that you false accuse them, you should then serve a sentence that they would have served had they had actually done it. And it's very easy to determine it when you start looking at messages. If you see that someone's planning it or plotting it or has admitted that they lied to somebody privately, then they should serve time. That I genuinely believe that. Nobody ever considers what men have to go through. And again, I've said this 1,000 times. I do not make any excuses for Andrew Tate's past behavior, the bad things that he has said, and any person that wants to speak out against that and say, well, look at this video that he said 10 years ago or 8 years ago or 2 years ago, you are welcome to do that, but we cannot criminalize speech. We have to criminalize actions. Rosea2350 writes, as a sexual assault survivor, I think there should be scientific evidence to prove guilt, not just she said, she said. It's one of the worst crimes because it's so hard to prove, but that's life. People need to not let trauma prevent them from having a good future. Get some counseling, talk to family, and most importantly, pray and get closer to God. You know, it's become very hard, I think, after the Me Too movement, and you obviously sense it in this podcast, for me to just believe women because so many women have had outrageous claims against men that I don't like, by the way. Matt Lauer came to his defense because the story was absurd. I mean, you're telling me he raped you and then you had a 4-year-long affair with him, which was consensual after you were raped? No, this was a shakedown, and the woman actually ended up getting a check. And so many of those circumstances have happened where women realize that men have access to wealth and money, and they immediately are able to make allegations and then sue civilly. And it is sad that we exist in this world, but there does need to be some recourse for men. Another person writes, wow, what a brilliant presentation of the facts. Like most, I was confused about the whole case. We get snippets in the media, but we never get the whole coherent story backed up with proof, which is what you have done here. What an amazing investigative journalism with this video. Hearing the 2 other supposed victims talk, they sound very sincere, advocating the Tate brothers' innocence. Pleased that you included the interviews and the very telling WhatsApp conversations. The Tates are in a living hell. I'm so grateful you highlighted this for the like of me. Thank you, Candace. Yeah, I think that actually was the aspect that was the most compelling for me, is that the 2 women that are listed as victims for Andrew Tate making videos. And then what's so incredulous is that people see those videos and they go, well, they're still being controlled by Andrew Tate. So you're telling us that we can only believe the women that say bad things about Andrew Tate and not the victims that are telling you good things and are saying that they were very shocked by everything that happened. The girls seemed very sincere. I read people very well. And so, yeah, I trusted them in their assessments of what was going on and obviously just explored other elements of the case. TIT Records writes, so basically the embassy realized that they were played. Instead of admitting it, they doubled down and tried to find a reason to charge them. This is totally insane. All it takes to destroy a man's life is an accusation, but a female predator is allowed to do whatever she pleases. I agree with that assessment. I do think that there was an element of it that might have been like, okay, we are trying to save face here. Like, but there is so much here. Maybe something is true. Where do they get all this money? Where are the cars? But there, without question, I think we all have to acknowledge that the Romanian government did the right thing in that moment when they first raided the home. If you were an American girl and you were actually kidnapped in another country, you would want that sort of a response. You would want the embassy to get in touch with Romanian authorities and to respond in that way. So I really didn't fault anybody there. And it actually made me think that I don't think it helps for Andrew to say it's the Matrix coming after him. I think that he should just rationally talk about aspects of the case, which to my understanding, he's actually not allowed to because that could be considered witness intimidation. But I'm glad that I was able to dig a little further. And I'm still digging, by the way, into the Tristan stuff as well. I had you know, a lot of information there, but I had not physically seen copies of it, so I didn't feel comfortable putting it out. But, you know, with time, more stuff will come out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time that we have for today. As a reminder, A Shot in the Dark is available now on Daily Wire Plus, so be sure to click the link in the description and subscribe right now. And also, come back tomorrow because there's going to be a brand new episode.
You guys, a lot of things are really going on. Let me know what you guys think about Neo apologizing for what he said. Should he have stood on his ground? And also, what do you think about Jimmy's Foxx's tweet? Do you think he should have also apologized or also stood his ground as a man? And let me know what you think about the open marriage, the power slaps, and the other things that Candace Owens discussed in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. This was such an interesting session with Candace Owens. I really enjoyed hearing her speak. I really enjoyed every bit of this discussion. It was really fun, and I had fun reacting to her. If you guys totally enjoyed watching, give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And this is me, Charlie, signing out. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.